All right, ready to jump in. Today we're going to spotlight Ant Taylor.
A true Bay Area legend, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This guy's done it all. Rapper, producer, you name it. He's probably done it.
Film and video production, music executive, the list goes on and on.
And get this. People are paying serious cash for his early work.
Oh, yeah. How much are we talking?
Try $500 for a cassette.
No way, a cassette. That's wild. What's the group again?
TMC. Back in the day. That tells you the kind of impact he's had.
Definitely a Bay Area icon. And his career. It's like a history of Bay Area hip-hop itself.
Exactly. So let's rewind back to the early 90s.
Back to those San Francisco streets.
Ant, known then as MC Reese, was the driving force behind TMC.
And they released some real classic, taking full control, that EP.
And then the full album straight to the dome.
Those have become collector's items, no doubt.
So what was it about their sound that made them stand out?
Well, imagine this. NWA meets Public Enemy. That's how one source described their early stuff.
Really? That's a potent mix.
Hard-hitting beats, but with a message, you know.
Interesting. They weren't your typical gangster rap group, though, right?
Not at all. They were all about social consciousness, using their music to say something real.
Like in that track, time is ticking, the beat is fire, but the lyrics are deep.
Yeah, they wanted people to wake up, to see what was happening around them.
That combination, raw energy with thoughtful lyrics, that's what made them special.
Definitely. And it's a thread that runs through Ant's whole career. Music as a platform for something bigger.
It's like they laid the groundwork for Bay Area hip-hop, the sound and the message.
Totally. And their success kind of mirrors what happened with other Bay Area greats. Too Short, Rap and Forte.
All tapping into something real, something people connected with. But Ant's story doesn't end with TMC.
Nope, he goes on to co-found IGR Records.
Tell us about that.
IGR was a game changer, a home for so much Bay Area talent. Jazz, EKT, DA Cartel.
The Players Click, yeah. So much talent came through IGR.
It was more than just a business. Ant used it to support the Bay Area's underground scene.
And he was all about diversity, lifting up different voices in the scene.
Exactly. It wasn't about pushing one sound, but about nurturing a whole movement.
And he didn't just sit back and watch. He worked with some of the biggest names through IGR.
Be Legit, Black Sea from RBL Posse, San Quinn, a who's who of Bay Area hip-hop.
That's serious networking right there. Recognizing talent, building connections.
It wasn't just about making music, it was about building a community.
A network of artists, pushing the boundaries of what Bay Area hip-hop could be.
And that vision, it wasn't limited to the Bay. Ant's always embraced collaboration, new sounds.
So he worked with artists from all over. That Dutch DJ, Backslide, right?
And straight TMK, that Milwaukee rapper, crossing genres, experimenting, pushing his own limits.
Stepping outside the comfort zone, that's what it's about.
It's about seeing the diversity of music as a way to grow creatively.
He even produced for singer Nicole Adrian. Shows how flexible he is.
Adaptable to different styles, working with all kinds of vocalists.
But out of all his experiences, there's one that stands out for him. And it involves a true hip-hop legend.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Picture this, 1992, Ant and TMC are opening for MC Lyte. And get this, Tupac's on the bill too.
Wow, what a lineup. To share the stage with icons like that early in his career?
Must have been an incredible experience. And it captures the energy of that time.
The Bay Area scene was electric. Something big was happening.
And Ant was right in the middle of it, already making his mark.
So we've talked about the rapper, the producer, the executive. But Ant has another title to add to the list.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Emmy nominee. In 2021, he snagged a nomination for his film and video work.
That's right, he worked on that Mask On PSA video with rapper Rob G.
Talk about using your platform for something important. What was the nomination for specifically?
For the video, Mask On. Really impactful stuff. You know, this nomination shows he's not just a musician.
He's a storyteller, a creative force across different mediums.
It shows his creativity goes beyond music. Whether it's film, video, whatever, he connects with people, sends a message.
Powerful messages, too. All right, let's dive into one of his songs, one with a really personal story.
Cash Flow. That's the one. It gives you a glimpse into his life, his creative process.
I heard he wrote that whole song in just 2 hours. Is that right?
2 hours. Can you believe it? And
Yeah.
you can feel that energy when you listen to it.
So what's the story behind those lyrics? What's Cash Flow all about?
It's about his journey, the risks he took, all for money, humble beginnings, rise and fall.
And ultimately realizing that living right That's what matters most.
A powerful message, especially coming from someone who's been there, seen both sides.
And the way he uses sound to amplify that message, it's really something.
How so?
Cash flow, it's got these heavy sound effects, a distinct guitar riff, it pulls you right into his hustle.
Like you're right there with him experiencing it.
It's not just background noise, it's creating an atmosphere. You know, sirens wailing, cash registers ringing.
It sounds more like a movie soundtrack than a typical hip-hop track.
Pushing the boundaries, that's what he does. So, after all this, where does Ant see himself going?
It seems he's got his eyes on a new horizon, independent films.
Filmmaking. That's a big leap.
It is, but it shows his entrepreneurial spirit, always exploring new creative avenues.
And it kind of makes sense, if you think about it. He hosted the IGR show back in the day, right?
Right. That early experience with television and film, maybe it sparked something.
It's like everything's connected, all these experiences leading him to this point.
Each step building on the last. So before we move on, what stands out to you the most about Ant's story?
It's his drive, his constant need to create, to innovate, and to use his platform for good.
He's a true artist, that's for sure. And his impact, undeniable.
It's how he blends those street stories with social commentary. You know, the grit and the struggle, but always making you think.
Yeah, like, hey, this is where I come from, but there's more to it.
Exactly. That complexity, that's what makes his music so interesting. Let's go back to TMC, to that EP, Taking Full Control.
The one that's worth a fortune now, right?
Yeah.
What made that project so special?
Well, we talked about that NWA Public Enemy mix, but it's more than that. Players, that track, it really shows it.
What do you mean?
Those heavy drums, the West Coast funk, you hear the NWA, right? But then these almost orchestral samples come in.
Giving it that Public Enemy edge.
Right, and then on top of that, those socially conscious lyrics, it's not just about the sound.
It's about the message.
And that message hit home, especially in a place like Fillmore, where street life was everywhere.
TMC wasn't running from that reality. They were facing it head on.
But with this sense of hope, this belief that things could change.
So from there, they go on to Straight to the Dome, their first full album. How did their sound evolve?
One source said the production on Straight to the Dome, it's different, but still really good. They experimented more. You can hear it.
So they weren't afraid to try new things.
Not at all. And you can hear it in tracks like True. It's darker, more introspective.
And the production, did it change?
It's more layered, more intricate. You can tell they were growing as artists.
And Straight to the Dome, another Bay Area classic, right up there with Taking Full Control.
Absolutely. Fans are still hunting for those cassettes. It shows how much they impacted the scene.
They shaped the sound of Bay Area hip-hop, and their music, it still inspires people.
No doubt. You know, it's interesting how those early projects, they set the stage for everything that came after.
For Ant's whole career, both as an artist and an executive, he was honing his craft, making those connections.
And figuring out who he was as an artist.
Finding his voice. Now, Ant has talked about 3 moments that really shaped his journey.
The first, opening for MC Lyte with Tupac. What were the other 2?
Well, his second was in '98 when he released Baron and Mac Mo. That album, he collaborated with Baron 916.
Okay, yeah.
And he felt like that was when he finally became a major artist.
Interesting. What was it about that album that made him feel that way?
He felt like his production on that album was some of his best work.
I see.
Plus, he was really impressed with the vocals, with the different styles on the album.
That makes sense.
It had songs like Broke Hose, All About the Dollar, even a track produced by KT The Playa, Don't Knock the Hustle.
Sounds like a solid lineup.
Oh, and there was a collaboration with JT The Big Figure too. All this game for you.
So he was hitting his stride creatively and getting recognized.
Exactly. That album opened doors for him, led to more collaborations, more opportunities.
So what about that third moment? The one that really solidified his impact?
The third one, it was when he produced Mask On for Rob G.
Oh, wow. The song that earned him that Emmy nomination.
That's the one. It's incredible, going from hip-hop tracks to a PSA video and getting recognized like that.
What was it about Mask On that resonated with the Emmy judges?
Well, I think it was the message, community, resilience, coming together during tough times.
Yeah, and the music itself. Catchy, impactful.
It just worked.
Yeah.
It shows how versatile Ant is, how he can adapt, take on different creative challenges.
He's not just a musician, he's a storyteller, a communicator, using different mediums to get his message across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ant's created so much music over the years. We've only talked about TMC, but There's so much more.
Countless projects, collaborations, always pushing himself, exploring different sounds.
To a true workhorse, a creative machine. His discography, it's huge.
It's amazing the amount of music he's put out. So let's dig into some of those other projects.
Okay, we talked about TMC, but what else?
Well, after TMC, he actually took a break from music. 4 years, no music.
Really?
Yeah. But then he teamed up with Baron 916, and they made Cruel City.
Cruel City, that was a big one for him, right?
That's the one that made him feel like a major artist. And after that, more collaborations. Be Legit, Black Sea from RBL Posse.
San Quinn, Black Nate, Lace Leno, he worked with them all.
He was right in the thick of it, the Bay Area scene.
He was, and that list of collaborators, it shows how much respect he has in the community.
He's worked with the best, and he's always willing to share his talent, his knowledge.
So besides the individual collabs, were there any other group projects that stood out?
In the late 90s, he was working on Ghetto Games. It was supposed to be an album and a movie soundtrack.
Wait, so he was thinking about film back then?
It seems so. E40 was on it, Rappin' Forte, some folks from his earlier groups.
It's like foreshadowing, right? His later work with film.
Definitely. But the Ghetto Games movie, it never got made. Just the soundtrack.
Too bad. But the soundtrack, it's considered a Bay Area classic.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting how those early ideas, they eventually led to that Mask On video.
To his Emmy nomination. Full circle, you know. It shows his vision was always bigger than just music.
He's always been about telling stories, finding different ways to do it.
So let's jump to 2005. Ant forms DA Cartel with his brother and a friend.
DA Cartel. They put out an album that year, known for its raw, honest lyrics.
What were we rapping about?
Struggle, growth, resilience, real stuff, you know,
Right.
resonated with people.
It seems like Ant has always used music to explore those themes.
Personal experiences, social issues, he brings it all into his music.
He's not just making music for fun, he's using it to connect, to share his worldview.
And after Dia Cartel, he took another break from releasing his own music.
Another one?
But he didn't stop creating. He was writing for other artists. Even produced a whole album for Nicola Lateran.
Wow, he was busy behind the scenes.
It shows he's more than just a performer. He's a songwriter, a producer.
Shaping the careers of other artists. A true collaborator. A driving force in the Bay.
And you know what? After all that, after a long hiatus, he's back.
Back with new music.
Oh yeah. In 2024 alone, he's releasing 60 new songs. 4 albums.
60. That's crazy. What are the albums?
One with his brother, Big Man, another with K Mayo, his longtime collaborator.
And one with TMC.
TMC, the original group, they're back. And he's got 10 songs ready for a solo album too.
Man, he's not slowing down at all. Still full of creative energy.
It's amazing. His passion for music, his drive to keep pushing himself.
It's inspiring to see someone with such a long career, over 3 decades, stay true to their roots.
And yet, always evolving. That's the key.
She's mastered reinvention.
Yeah.
Always experimenting, but never losing sight of what matters.
That storytelling, that social consciousness, it's all still there.
Exactly. And that's what makes him such a unique artist, blending the personal with the social, making you think and feel.
So, Ant has some advice for aspiring artists. He says, always have a backup plan.
Practical advice.
But also, stay true to yourself, network, pay your dues, invest in your career.
And be a giver, not a taker. That's a good one.
That resonated with me too. It's about community, supporting each other, using your success to help others.
And you see that throughout Ant's career. The collaborations, IGR records, always shining a light on others.
He's a true leader, not just because of his talent, but because he's generous, a mentor.
Always giving back. You know, it's amazing he got his start so young.
How young are we talking?
He was only 16 when he recorded his first album. His brother produced it.
Wow, 16.
And it was well received even then. Shows you his natural talent.
Then at 17, he forms that group. They record that EP that's so sought after now.
It's wild, right? All that before he even turned 18.
He was already shaping the Bay Area scene.
And he produced that whole EP himself, which led to him producing for other artists.
He had a knack for it even then, creating music that people loved.
It shows you success takes time. Sometimes the impact of your work, you don't see it right away.
It's about playing the long game, focusing on the work, trusting that it will find its audience.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's go back to Ant's plans to focus on films. A big change, going from music to filmmaking.
It's exciting though, right? Shows he's not afraid to take risks.
If his past is anything to go by, he'll bring that same creativity, that social awareness to his films.
And it's not completely new for him, remember the IGR show?
That's right. That gave him a taste of TV and film production.
Maybe that sparks something.
It's like everything in his career has led him to this point.
All those experiences building on each other,
So as we wrap up this spotlight on Ant Taylor, it's clear his journey's not over.
He's still evolving, still creating, still pushing the boundaries.
And I can't wait to see what he does next, especially in the world of film.
Me too. His story, it's an inspiration. It's never too late to chase your passions, to make a difference.
It's true. And Ant's story is proof that anything is possible if you have the talent, the drive, and you never give up.
It's pretty amazing, all that he's accomplished, and he's never lost sight of his roots, you know?
Right, his connection to his community, it's always there.
You see it in his music, the people he works with, even this move to independent film.
He's always looking for those stories that matter, the ones that often get overlooked.
Especially in film, right? Those everyday stories, they need to be heard.
Exactly. And for him to use his platform to give those voices a chance, that's powerful stuff.
It speaks volumes about who he is, you know, as an artist, as a person.
It's that authenticity. That's what makes him so relatable. He's not trying to be anyone else.
He's just Ant. And that makes him so inspiring, so down to earth.
It really does. Thinking about his journey, all that he's achieved.
From those early days with TMC to now.
It makes you wonder, what advice would he give to someone just starting out?
He actually talked about that, didn't he?
Yeah, he stressed the importance of having a backup plan. Always good advice.
But also, stay true to yourself, network, put in the work, invest in your career.
And one that really stuck with me, be a giver, not a taker.
That's such a simple idea, but so powerful.
It's about community, supporting each other, using your success to lift others up.
And you see that throughout Ant's career, right? IGR Records, all those collaborations.
Always sharing the spotlight, giving others a chance.
He's a true leader, not just talented, but generous, a mentor, always giving back.
Amazing, isn't it? To think he started so young.
He did, yeah.
16, that's when he recorded his first album. His brother produced it.
Wow, 16 years old.
And even then, his music was well received. The talent was obvious.
Then at 17, forming that group, recording that EP that everyone wants now.
Crazy, right? All that before he was even 18.
It's like he was destined for this.
And he produced that whole EP himself, which is how he got noticed.
That led to him producing for other artists.
He had a gift, creating music that connected with people. And it just grew from there.
It shows that success takes time. Sometimes the impact, you don't see it right away.
You got to play the long game. Focus on the work, believe in yourself.
And trust that the right people will find it. So, before we wrap up, let's circle back to those film plans. That's a big move, music to filmmaking.
A big change.
But exciting, right? Shows he's not afraid to explore new things.
And if his music's any indication, those films, they're going to be something special.
Definitely. That same creativity, that social awareness, it'll all be there.
And it's not totally new for him. Remember the IGR show?
Right. He's got that TV and film experience.
Maybe that planted the seed.
It all comes back around.
So, to wrap up this spotlight on Ant Taylor, it's clear he's not done yet.
Not even close.
He's still growing, still creating, still pushing those boundaries.
And I can't wait to see what he does next, especially those films.
Me too. His story, it's a reminder to never give up on your dreams no matter what.
Even when things get tough, you keep pushing, you keep creating.
That's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Talent, drive, and that refusal to quit.
He's achieved so much, and it's inspiring to see.
A huge thank you to Ant Taylor for letting us spotlight him. Check out his music, folks. It's amazing.
Explore that discography and stay tuned for those films. It's going to be good.
This has been a Bay Play Radio production.
We appreciate you listening. Would you like to have an artist spotlight?
Text SHOW to area code 415-745-2742 for more information. And of course, a special thanks to our producer,
Ant Taylor.
Wishing everyone well.